notification on my phone to let me know that the Twitch is like turned on. But for whatever reason, like it takes a while for whatever to happen to happen. And I'm also
Have you
using a
ever done
different.
anything on Twitch before? Have you ever used Twitch?
Yes, but I don't know how long it takes. I feel like it's different every time. I'm
You're
also
so bad at
I'm
this.
also using a different application altogether just to stream to two locations at the same time. We might be live on YouTube right now. For all I know, we just said all of that.
Yeah, I'm just causing trouble.
Hmm.
I'm calling you up on Twitch right now.
As far as I can tell, I don't seem to be live on YouTube, so that's the thing I need to figure out.
We're not going to go too far past 11, right?
I don't know. I don't plan to.
Okay.
Stream is live according to this. Yeah, we're live according to OBS.
All right.
Is my Twitch working? Please tell me Twitch is working. Oh, it is working. Okay. Let me just check. Oh, apparently I'm live on my YouTube channel. Okay, that took a while to happen. That took a while to happen. I need to work on that. uh, this is a whole new frontier. I probably won't be sticking with this for too long because that took way too much time. But we are here for the for all podcast. We're here for Dragon Prince season 3, episodes 1, 2, 3. My phone decided to let me know we're live. Okay, we're here to talk about season 3 because last season 2's episode 9 was really interesting, and I really I guess well, you and your wife really wanted to figure out what was happening, or at least your wife really wanted to watch season 3. And I pretty much watch season
She's
3's 4 through 6 now because I don't know from the way you made it seem.
It's been a really long time since I've seen her this excited about a series.
Really? What about My Hero Academia?
Not as exciting to her as this. She likes this a lot more than My Hero.
Okay. I guess
She likes this more than Avatar.
Wow. Well, I mean, the people who made Avatar, I guess that'd be okay. So we're here to talk about episode 1, 2, 3, and we're gonna talk about this as cohesively and as I guess short as we possibly can and get this within the hour. Okay.
I think you mean concisely.
Cohesive, concise, whatever. What a world.
What a world! What a world! You know what that's from?
No.
That's from Wizard of Oz when the witch is dying. What a world! What a world!
Okay. I watched the Wizard of Oz. I don't remember that part. I remember her melting, and I remember I'm melting, but I don't remember what a world. Okay, so the first episode of season 3 is the Dragon Prince. Pretty much the recap the beginning of every season with like the quick speed up of like the magic, I guess how magic works in this world, and they also show the dragon with the arch back. But apparently, season episode 1 they decided to throw us off with something I wasn't expecting them to show, which was the original wizard who used black magic against the dragon. And remember last week I was contemplating whether dragons could speak English, or at least communicate with humans, and at least they confirmed one of them could. And he's also very scary. We also find out during the entire conflict with like with the human. I would say that this is also a really interesting aspect about Zadia, at least the magical creatures. That dragon in particular sees humans as lesser beings. I fault both of them. When I first saw this, I thought I was gonna fault the human, but I fault both of them. Both of them were in the wrong in that entire that entire situation. and the dragon and the human also rightfully paid for their actions. The human more so than the dragon.
Yeah, it's interesting because dragons in this series are so far, with the exception of Zim, like have been like fierce and intelligent and powerful and brave, but also not particularly wise. Like they stick it in the battles. They stick in the battles like longer than they should. They make decisions kind of brashly. They seem to be led by anger sometimes and revenge. Like they don't like that dragon that was like fighting the people, you know what I mean, when he was getting rescued, the red one. Like instead of taking off, he's like, I'm gonna stay and fight, you know, and he was like kind of ready to lose, you know. And like they just don't do the best job sometimes. Like the dragons, not the writers do a great job, but like the dragons seem like they're not always making the smartest decisions for themselves.
Whether they're these big magical constructs, I don't think they had to really make like battles because they have all this power. That's what any dragon with any fiction is. Dragons. Let's talking about the
Well,
older dragons, but those don't
we've
usually
seen
come
a
up.
lot of dragons like lose though so far. The Dragon King lost. The Dragon Queen is dying of grief. The that red dragon was down, like knocked down pretty fast. Like dragons like don't always win in this world. Zim is like not really up to win too many battles right now. Like it's really like a place where dragons are fair. I think they're powerful, but they're also very vulnerable.
I think it's just more that they don't look. It's not that they don't like humans. They just don't look at humans as being of any real threat. I mean that in the first episode, um, I think his name was Elrom. I forgot his name. Elrom Meg. I forgot his name, but
Bob.
he let's go with Bob. Bob
Okay.
essentially just decided it was a good idea, and I'm running with it. He decided it was a good idea to, first of all, I'll give him props for telling him that he should stop using magic because it's wrong. I mean, he should stop using dark magic because it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It's sucking the life out of everything. I give him props for speaking his side of the equation, but he didn't try to be. I guess it's one thing. Dragons don't seem to be empathetic, and I don't understand how they can't be. Considering from what I can see, they're probably the smartest creatures, magical creatures. I mean, in this series, you might get the elves because they've made societies for themselves, but the dragons, I would say, are probably the second most intelligent creature in this entire show that they got to this point. I mean, with that
Mm-hmm.
one, he's capable of speech. Um, so it's just one of those things where like it's kind of weird that he didn't try to be empathetic, but it may have come to the fact that he's a dragon. He doesn't have to be empathetic. He like you should do what I say, and that's the end of the story. But um, that didn't end well. You're telling a human that he's lower and lesser than you. It's kind of like the whole aspect of slavery, for instance. It's like you're telling one person that they're lesser than you and that you need to do what you say, and that was the situation here. The only thing that kind of deterred that had happened differently was that um, he fought back because he had threatened thousands of human lives. Um, Only for him to suck the magic out of the phoenixes that were coming from far away, which I don't understand why they were doing what they were doing. That one I didn't
I thought
understand.
they were like they seem to follow him. Like if you notice in the later scene where he's blind, they're kind of hanging around him too. They seem to follow him wherever he goes. Those little bird things.
I guess, but it didn't. I don't know what purpose they served, other than like ushering in that he's here. I don't know what purpose that they would have served. But
Yeah, I don't know if we're supposed to know or if we're gonna find out later, but like I don't know. Not everything needs to be explained at the same time.
yeah, the bike. Sorry. I think that was the thing from a long time ago. I don't think I've gotten
or
over
like
that.
was
I don't think.
or
Well,
like was Froppy born or hatched?
I think that's all you.
That one drives me. I need to know.
Like the bike. I think that's just all me.
I need to know if Froppy was born or hatched. That's all I'm saying.
She's a mammal. I'm pretty sure that she was born and not hatched. continuing
But she's
on.
a frog, and her parents are frog-like.
But she wasn't a frog when she was born. She was like, I mean, she wasn't like a human hybrid. She was a human.
She can do anything a frog can do, right?
I mean, yeah, but her quirk wouldn't have manifested until she was 4.
If she can do anything that a frog then can do, then she can lay eggs. If her parents have frog-like abilities too, which we're never clearly told, but they definitely look similar, then they might be able to lay eggs.
Moving on. I don't even talk about that subject, but yeah, this fight pretty much culminates in the dragon becoming blind, and the human wizard that was fighting him. Well, actually, not wizard. There are mages in this world. Whatever, wait, wizard mage. But he ends up dying, and the dragon becomes blind. This is important because we flash back to the present, and we see that I forgot that apparently they saw this dragon, but I swear he wasn't yellow. I thought he was brown or red the last time, like at the end of season 2. I could be wrong. Um, Maybe it was a shadow, but we see that he's there. But I didn't notice that he was blind. So
Mm-hmm.
that was an interesting bit of detail. They decided to show that. Okay, so we now know how he's blind and why he's blind. So Rayla and Callum are now. Well, at least Rayla's talking about how this is a bad idea. She wasn't expecting to see him guarding the gate, and
Mm-hmm.
explains also that apparently he's just nothing but a ball of rage. And by the end of the sequence that they have with him, he'll be even a bigger ball of rage. I don't suspect he's gonna be too happy when he gets out of that arch that they put him in. Because then what precedes them getting away from the dragon is um, them tricking the dragon into following Callum's musty scarf scent in a direction that they can get around him.
That was a
I,
kind way of putting it. Musty.
I don't know another adjective you could use for that. Stinky? I don't know. Is stank scarf, but I thought it was weird, and this is the thing. I know he can't see, but I thought they were gonna get out of that situation by because he seems to be of the one thing he hates the most. And I didn't know. Apparently, he can like I guess when you use dark magic, you smell of death, which I guess it kind of makes sense. You're sucking the life out of a magical creature. They shouldn't decay any differently than a human in this world probably. But
Mm-hmm.
it was really weird that he kept on saying he was smelling death. And I was thinking back to when Callum used that dark magic. I was like, wow, they thought of everything way ahead of time. I wasn't expecting that kind of detail.
That
Uh,
was awesome.
I forgot all about that he used dark magic, and I was like, oh, that's right, he used dark magic. How's he gonna get out of this one? I thought maybe because the dragon hated dark magic so much. I thought my idea was that he was gonna use like magic to show that he's not using dark magic anymore, but that didn't happen. Mainly because, as you said before, the dragons don't seem to be they don't seem to think a lot. They think, but they don't think too much.
Yeah,
In his case, he just like he was just remembering the pain that was caused by the last human that he encountered, and essentially this would decide to go all ham on him and start killing him. Didn't want to kill the dragon. Baby dragon did not want to kill Rayleigh. Just wanted to kill the human. Uh, so we got that hate seated on both sides of the spectrum now. Humans hate elves and dragons hate humans, or at least that dragon hates humans. Uh, But yeah, also in this episode too, we kind of get the other side of the story, which I think is now. I guess now season 3 is going to be nothing more than 2 stories told from 2 different characters that we were traveling with from season 1, with Ezran, taking on the throne, and now he has his own set of problems to deal with.
quite a few. But like, way to go, dude! Like he's handling it really, really well. I would say there's potentially three storylines going on too, because we have the deaf woman as well.
I'll get to her because I don't think we see her until like no, I think we see her at the beginning of episode 1, or was that episode
Yeah,
2? Okay, we'll deal with her. I mean, I forgot. I honestly knew about her, remember her, but I wasn't sure what her story started. But
episode one she gets captured. Episode two she gets interrogated. Oh no, it's episode two she gets captured. Episode three she gets interrogated.
was she in episode 1 then?
Maybe not.
But we're gonna quickly deal with Ezra, and then we'll move to episode two. See Ezra, and he's come back, on a banther. I think that's what that was. Uh, I find it funny that he kind of just strolls on in after the banther, bangs on the door, and then the wife of well, not what I don't even know if she's a wife or not, but that woman that I mentioned that she's even though she's not that important of a character or that prominent, they like I've been noticing they've been slowly but giving her more lines. Um,
Hmm.
it's really weird. I don't know what they're doing with her, and I'm starting to get the impression, and there's nothing really showing this, but I'm starting to get the impression that I don't know. I feel like I don't know about her character. I don't know where they're going with her. Um, in episode two, when she was talking to Ezra about his decision making about first he was because they apparently arrested Varen's son and daughter at some point um during all this. They probably managed to catch them and arrest them. They must have been at the gate when they got arrested because like they were accused of high treason and cahoots with Varen. Um, essentially like they're saying that you gotta punish them and whatnot, and Ezra is just not coming into this whole thing. He woke up on his father's bed for the first time since season one, so like he's trying to come to terms with everything that he's got to be responsible for, and essentially now he's got to figure out if they should be punished for what their father did. Uh, I find it kind of interesting too throughout this entire sequence too when they were accused of trying to kill them. Soren wasn't trying to make excuses like his sister was. Uh, it's showing that he may not be the brightest person, but he does have a moral compass, and it seems to be a way stronger than I initially thought it was. Uh, I feel bad for him by the end of these three episodes because I feel horrible that his sister ends up taking the father side, which kind of settles in the whole she's got daddy issues. And I don't know if I like that about her. But
She also tends to do whatever's best for her.
I mean that's what kind of seeded in the whole. I think she might represent her brother. She
Hmm.
it's part of that whole contradiction thing. She's got like she's kind of like got double speak because you saw that when they were in the prison when Soren was eating that bread. He seemed to be very simple minded and he just didn't care. I mean he pretty much resigned. He pretty much resigned his end. He was prepared to spend time down there because he felt like he deserved it. Um, I'm kind of like half and half on that. Yeah, you attempted, but you weren't successful, and on top of that, your heart wasn't in it either. I would hate Soren more if he really wanted to kill them, but he didn't.
Hmm.
So it's one of those things where like I can't not like Soren. You know, I want to see where his character goes. Because by the way, episodes 1 to 3, there has to be a season 4. There's so many small things that are seeding in here that there is no way season 3 is going to end it all. There's got to
Where
be a
did you the logo that you used for Anime for All with the characters in the background? Where did you get that?
um. I just looked up My Hero Academia like font. I think that's what I did.
No, the picture itself. Where did you get that?
I just looked at Dragon Prince stuff, and I found this
Mm-hmm.
in episode 1 in season 1. So I knew about certain things because of this image.
It's okay, but I noticed in that one you've got Claudia looking regretful. Like they show the different characters. The other three look very determined and strong, and she's on the picture, but she looks like she regrets something. And that just seems to be Claudia's fate. Like she's constantly betraying people, constantly ruining things, constantly like making the world around her like worse to sometimes she's following her desires, sometimes she's following her father and stuff like that, but it just seems like she's always coming out on the bottom with things. Like she's always coming on the like she's always on the top for power, like she always seems to be in control of situations, but like the outcomes of what she does are always regretful, you know.
I mean, I guess, but like at the same time, a lot of that is like what Soren is right now. A lot of it is her fault, and
Yeah,
She's always trying to find the bright side of things, but I think for Claudia, it's all about just realizing that the, she screwed up. And I think that's a lot of her. I think that's where a lot of her growth is going to come from, is her realizing that um, things are the way they are, and she can't stop it. Granted, also this image we get a spoiler that more of her hair is going to turn white, um,
yeah,
much more than her father, which is kind of ironic. Tells me that she's probably going to use way more magic than he's ever done. But I just, I mean, for me right now, I don't really like Claudia, and it's not really of things that she's done. It's more like what things she's gonna do, because I guess we're gonna hop everywhere around here. By the end of season three, I mean episode three, she's asking why did she looked like she's about to turn on him, on her father, but then he spins a lie because the voice in his head tells that he's gonna need her for something later, whatever that
yeah,
means. Um, Says that Soren misunderstood, and she believes it because, and this is kind of where I feel sorry for Soren, is that he isn't that bright. So Claudia, being the one, resentful and all that, she's the one that got to take care of her brother, which it looks like she might be the younger sister, um, taking care of her older brother, and finding out that he might have, because he's not that smart, and this happened before. She believes her father over her own sibling. Um, this is one of those things where I understand, I understand believing your parents and whatnot, but you have a brother who like he was already you already noticed that something was up. Um, and maybe I'm feeling a lot more like I'm probably feeling a lot more hate towards Claudia because I have a sister, so I know this is how I would feel and stuff like that. But
yeah.
she believed her father, who I know she has no real reason to believe that he was lying, but at the same
Yeah.
time, do you have any real reason to believe that your brother was lying?
Yeah,
Yeah,
her brother was so sure that he was willing to like end his life over it, like literally, you know.
it
So it
was.
seems pretty. It seems like he was had a pretty good idea what was going on.
I mean, he already knew what was going on. I mean, Varen was fighting him over it. It's like, oh, that's what you thought I said. No, no, Varen, no, don't you dare. Like, don't like
Right.
I was saying, don't you dare do that. I think the worst part is too, Soren's too afraid to stand up to him. I think that's really the worst
Mm-hmm.
part. I think this would have all turned out differently if Soren wasn't afraid to stand up to him. I think a lot of it also was shown too when Claudia told her story about how they ended up with their father and not with their mother. Soren chose to stick with him, and she chose to stick with him because her mother told her to, protect her brother. This is where I don't know if we're ever gonna see this. I feel like we're gonna see it this season, if not this season, next season. But we're gonna see the culmination of her resentment. I really do feel like she has resentment towards him, and it's gonna take a lot for that to come out of her. Um,
Uh-huh.
so it's gonna be one of those things. I feel like she does resent him because she's so easily willing to believe her father, but not easily gonna believe her brother. Even back when he first revealed that's what he told him. You know, he wants me to kill them. She was like, no, he didn't tell it. He didn't tell you that. Even back with the whole Soren sees that his father doesn't love him, but for other reasons she doesn't see it. Um, so it's one of those things where like I'm seeing all these flaws with her, but I'm also seeing flaws with Soren. But I'm more irritated at Claudia because she's supposed to be intelligent. She's supposed to be able to see all through all the lies, but she isn't. And it's probably a part of her character that she isn't able to do that. But I don't really know. I mean, like right now, Claudia is like in that whole. I don't know about you. I'm getting more and more unsure about her as these episodes go on. I wish I had more of a grasp on who she is by season three, but clearly I'm
But
not
she's
supposed
more of
to.
a Zuko though.
I had a
She's still like Zuko. She'll do anything for her father, and for her father's approval. She betrays the good guys over and over again. But still, you want to believe that there might be something more to her.
but there was more to Zuko, and that was like revealed in I think a book two. I think he stopped. I think he stopped betraying, or at least got really close to not doing it all the time. I know by book three he stopped betraying people. Well, I take that back. I mean, he betrayed his father by book three, but when he got he got in contact with like Katara, Aang, like he betrayed Katara. I think he might have betrayed Aang, but like I mean, after a certain point, he stopped doing it all the time.
I hear what you're saying, but book three was a lot more episodes in than book three in this series.
I know, but by that point, we've already known that Zuko had I'm not saying that she doesn't have baggage that she needs to get rid of, but at the same time, like I
Mm-hmm.
liked Zuko from like book one,
Mm-hmm.
really because of fire
All
biased.
I mean is
But
like we've seen 21 episodes so far, and I don't think that was even season one's number of episodes in the last one.
the story's progressing much faster than the Avatar. Like the Avatar's an epic. This isn't epic, as far as I can tell. It's just a storybook. But
This is an epic story. What do you mean?
that's what I mean. It's not talking about epic in terms of like the whole reason why Avatar was as long as it was is because Nickelodeon wanted an epic. I don't know if this is what Netflix wanted. And as far as I
Mm-hmm.
can tell, I don't know if like the same. At some point, I feel like in season three we're gonna get the same stakes at hand, but we haven't really reached those stakes because we don't know what the I guess the end goal of what's his name? I forgot. Well, Varen's end goal with that elf that is in his ear. But
Yeah.
like I said, I at least liked Zuko when I first saw him. I'm not saying I hate Claudia. I don't know where I stand with her. At least I knew where I stood with Zuko. I didn't like that. I didn't like some of the things that he did, but I also like some of the things that he did. Granted,
You're like
I
he uses fire. I love him.
but yeah that, but also later on, his relationship with Iroh, she doesn't have that with anybody, and the person you
Mm-hmm.
think she would have, think then granted her situation is kind of the same with Zuko. Zuko betrayed Iroh a lot of times, so nearly ended where he
Yeah.
came through. So there's a possibility that maybe Soren might be the Iroh that she needs for all this. But my issue is that she is. I hope, and this is kind of where I'm hoping for Soren to really grow. Um, I'm hoping that maybe with him seeing this in his sister and his father and seeing what's been happening, maybe it's gonna push him to be his own character, and do what he wants to do. I think he even hinted at the fact that I don't think he really truly wanted to be a knight. Because he brought up the haiku thing, and it seemed kind of interesting that he knew exactly what he wanted to do. So I don't even know if maybe that's what he intended, that's what he wanted to do, but he didn't do it
Mm-hmm.
because his father was ashamed of him or something like that, and he wanted his father's approval. Um, Unfortunately, he never got it. The only person who got it was his sister, and that's really very like bad because like she's inadvertently feeding off of it. Um, I feel like what's gonna happen if she does end up betraying Varian, it's gonna really hurt him in the long run, but I don't really know. But that's kind of where I stand with Claudia. I found everything leading up to that, her switching her mind, because she seemed very certain that she was gonna like betray Varen, and then all of a sudden he said that that's not what I meant, and
Mm-hmm.
she's trying so hard to see the good in everybody. Um, Even though she hasn't really seen the good in her brother, like everything that's I think dealing with her and Soren is just like he's a bumbling idiot. I think she even revealed all that too in that same episode that Soren wanted to say he wanted to be a poet. She didn't seem to have much faith in her brother, like almost in the same vein as her father. Like if anything, she's becoming more like her father than she's becoming her own person.
I wonder who his Lord Varen's father is. I wonder if it's that dark magician.
I don't think so because I think they said that dragon that he burnt was like over 1,000 years old. If
It
I would
doesn't
say,
mean it was. It doesn't mean it was 1,000 years ago, though.
but that burn is like kind of like grown over. Like I don't know. I thought that maybe it would have been his ancestor. Maybe I don't really know because like he apparently more humans are using dark magic, and we know in this era that nobody other than Varen's using dark magic and his daughter.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, we know the dark magic hasn't gone like crazy, but I don't know. Like, it's the same staff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the same staff. But what I'm saying is, I think it might have been his ancestor, somebody related to Varen. I don't think it has to be his father. Maybe his father's
Yeah.
father. I think it's related to Varen. He's got to be. He looks exactly like him. Um, but we can go into episode 2, get this out of the way, because I think we talked about this entire everything that happened in the span of 2 episodes with these couple of sentences. Maya gets captured because she saves the who we now know, who I was wondering for a long time, was she the prince? Was she the queen? We found out she's not. Um, but she is the sister.
Princess.
She is a no. Is she the daughter of her? She might be the daughter of the queen, so she is the princess. But also I find it interesting too that you probably noticed this too, at least with the elves. Which by the way, we got confirmation of another group of elves.
Mm-hmm.
I was waiting for it. Earth blood.
I
I
told you there's gonna be tons of them.
so now we got the moon
Moon,
shadow,
sun,
fire sun, and now we got earth blood.
and then we
Um,
have the star one.
I call that star cloak. That's canon. I don't care what anybody says. That is so canon.
Star cloak elves.
I hope
Earth
that
blood.
I hope that is really what they call it, a star cloak. I would so like I'll call up those people and say I want my royalties. I want my royalties. That is so my name. You stole it from me. But back to what I was saying, like the sunfire elves, after they blow, because like pretty much what leads up to her saving the princess is Maya wasn't trying to give up the position over at the gorge where the war was beginning. So she blew up the platoon because the Sunfire Elves had gotten a perch there now. Like they can protect it from all sides. She didn't want to leave it. So after her friend or whoever that guy was, the guy who was held up in chains, who we see again in this episode. And I was wondering how did he get there, but then I forgot that Varen was put in jail, so of course he'd be set free. Uh, he kind of got there kind of quickly, but essentially he pretty much says what happened at the castle. Maya kind of gives this whole sign language thing, like yeah, I didn't believe him 1 minute or something like that. I just liked her face. She was like, I'm not surprised. I just love that face. It's just like I'm not surprised. Oh, like wow, like she was more concerned with what's happening then and now than what happened over there. But essentially, she blows up the military platoon, and
A little detail that I liked about that, by the way, is that she saved her horse before she blew it up.
yeah, that's true. She said a lot of people doing that, but she
No, I
saved.
mean she spanked her horse, slapped her horse so it would run off.
Yeah, I know. I was just saying she said a lot of people by being strategic on where she was and where the explosions were gonna go, which actually happened
Mm.
all in one explosion. I was quite surprised, but essentially, there's a hole now where the lava is falling. The Sunfire Elf is now dangling for her life, and this moment, and I love the way that they show the perspective. We see from Maya's perspective, she steps up to the elf, and we just looking down at her, and clearly now at this moment she doesn't want to die. Clearly at this moment, like she's like trying to get on, and I was suspecting. Now I'm gonna sit there and say that this is not her character, so I can't 100% say that I was truly expecting her to step on her hand, but I think I would have laughed at the same time, felt really bad for the elf. But we get like small tidbits in terms of like Maya probably doesn't 100% believe elves are evil because she literally didn't have to. She had just left her there dangling and try to get out of there. Granted, we do know that those elves behind her, because after she saves her, the elves pull out their broken swords, which I thought was pretty
Mhm.
funny. That she,
If she'd grabbed her shield and charged into those elves, I'm pretty confident that she would have at least taken a bunch of elves down with her if she decided not to save that
speaking of which,
elephant instead
speaking of that
fight.
shield, during the initial confrontation with that elf, we see that her shield gets chipped from the sword again,
Uh-huh.
So, well, we now know that apparently it can cut. Granted, I will say this much: I think that was a part of the shield that she first hit that first time. So, I think your theory might be right that it may not be infallible, but I think she needs to hit that shield enough times for that to come off. I don't know why they showed the
Yeah.
detail because the detail did not come into play this entire episode. That one detail did not come into play. So we're probably gonna
Yeah.
see her broken shield at some point later on, because we know how these people are. They throw small
Hmm.
details at you, only for those details to matter later. Um, but yeah, this fight was pretty detailed. Again, beautiful with the lava and flowing in the background. We also see the Sunfire out after she got her sword yanked out of her hand. Um, you see her glowing again, like I compared it to the Magma Titan that we saw in that flashback, where you just saw her skin look like it was cracked, like all over with lava flowing through it.
Oh
Um,
yeah, man. I wonder if that was like a sun creature then, because they use it to grow the crops, so it must be some sort of sun magic.
Probably, but more than likely. I mean, if like thinking about it, more than likely. But I was reminded of the Magma Titan a little bit with that, and I was like, huh. I was like, maybe it's a subspecies of them or something like that. But I thought it was interesting detail that they kept showing that because I was always curious of what does that mean because I know the Moonshadow elves use magic to go invisible. I was wondering what the Sunfire elves use magic for. Um, Later on, we see apparently it is to become. And this isn't. It can't be fire retardant. There's no way it was fire retardant because she went through a magma.
Hmm.
So they must be impervious to any form of burning. Well, actually, I take that back. She might be impervious to any form of burning, because after she captures Maya, we see that they put her into a prison down below their castle, and we see that she's surrounded by magma. And that was a funny little detail that she has another character. Because now at this point we have a voice to the Sunfire Elf. But I want to say that I found it interesting. What I find interesting is that I'm pretty sure you noticed it too. Um, these elves are German.
Yeah, I didn't notice it. How do you know?
Just with the Sunfire Elf princess that she was. I was trying to. I was trying to. Pin the accent. I was listening to her talk. I originally thought she was French, but no, she wasn't French. She's German. So we got the Scottish Moonshuttle elves, and then we got the German Sunfire elves. Like I can't wait to hear, um, what the others sound like. Because I'm sitting there like, wow, they really are just diversity. This show has been nothing but diversity at this point.
We're gonna get
I
Australians next. It's gonna be great.
I'm hoping that the Earthblood elves are what the Australian ones.
African, whatever. It'll be great.
I can't wait to hear what the elves are that sound African. That is gonna be hilarious to listen to. Just from the concept of dialect. You ever heard an African speak? I cannot wait to hear an entire speech. um,
I had a Nigerian professor in college, and it was the greatest. He had such an awesome accent.
or like Black Panther. Just I do not freeze. I was like, just like the emphasis on every word. Every word is there's an emphasis on it. But back to the episode at hand. Um, we start seeing that at least the princess isn't as bad as she pretends to be. As we see with Rafa when we first saw her, amongst her group of people, she was the most discernible one out of all of them. She didn't seem to be, she didn't seem to believe in violence a lot. We see this with this woman who I don't even know her name. I can't wait to learn her name, so I can put a name to her face. But actually, do they say her name? I don't know if the queen says her name or not.
I don't think so.
Well, I guess we'll learn her name at some point. But I find it interesting that the queen was ready to kill her because she was telling her that she has been nothing but obstinate throughout this entire interrogation, and she was seeking her help, and essentially just says burn her. I was like, jeez. And like I saw when she said that I saw the face on her. I was like, wow, she didn't seem to like that decision. And then we cut away, but we come back and she's like saying that she saved my life. She has a warrior's like will or something like that. She like she showed me mercy. Shouldn't we show her the same thing? And the queen is having none of that. and decides to test her with this blinding light staff that I
That
don't
she's got
know.
to look into.
Look into the light, which is essentially what this entire sequence was. It says you have to look into it. If you don't, you're gonna die, which is interesting. And then we find out that apparently it was to test her, like it was to test her pure heartedness, and she lets her go, not happy about it. And essentially, it says that she's her pet now, and that ends that sequence. We don't know what happens to Maya because they don't go back to it in these next three
I know it just
episodes.
hangs out there, and you're like, holy crap!
Um, we got that storyline,
Like you
and
know, I don't know why she was crying. I don't know if her vision was affected. Like, wouldn't it be terrible if it affected her vision looking at that light?
I mean, I'm pretty sure he was looking at her soul, which is like what it seemed like to me. Um, as for her sight, it'd be horrible for her to be blind and deaf. No way to
Mm-hmm.
communicate. But we go from there. We go back to Ezra, and I guess a little bit more I can say about this is that we see Ezra talking with a prince, another prince of a far off kingdom. Because apparently, I forgot about this, but before Viren got caught, he had sent out shadow demons or something like that out to other kingdoms. I initially thought they were out sent out there to scare people. Well, they did their job and they killed two people and injured the rest. I was shocked by this revelation.
I was, and I knew that that was what was happening.
I thought he was just out there trying to scare them. Um, but we get that, and pretty much the culmination of all that is Ezrin is like saying that he wants to be a new king. It's funny too because Ezrin didn't know anything that was actually. He definitely had a note in his hand, so maybe that was from his father, I guess. Uh, Cause I originally thought like there's no way he knew what his father wanted for him because he never saw that note that he gave Callum, but maybe he gave him his own note.
I didn't know what that note was, but the fact that it was opened made me think it was from. It was the one given to Callum.
It's quite possible, but I almost certain it has to be because I don't know. Because I mean, the next thing he said is that he wants to not be ruled by his father's past because
Yeah,
he makes very specific call outs, saying that we're not fighting our father's wars and stuff like that. I want to be a different king, and essentially, declares there's going to be peace now because the Dragon Prince is being returned back to Zadia.
but
The,
like, what an awesome, inspiring moment! Like, I don't know, especially in the world right now. You know, like I feel like there's a lot of people that could learn from that like decision. Ezrin makes like such humble but strong decisions all the time. I really, really like it.
it gets done to this whole thing, and he's smarter than he looks. He's definitely way smarter than he looks. Since he makes this whole like prophetic speech, um, the prince of one of the kingdoms whose father was like nearly killed is not having any of it. I want to bring up that once Ezra brought up the dragon prince was alive, one of his not regents, but I hate to say this, the only black guy besides the black guy, the prince, he kind of turned and had a really strange look when he said that Dragon Prince was alive. We see him come back after the prince is about to leave and says that I got something to speak to you alone with. I'm wondering how he got out of there, cause that like the fact that he would have left the same time the other guy left is like I don't even know. I'm not sure what's going on, but I got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, they bribed the guard to get in there in the first place. It was all pretty sketchy.
Um, we'll see. With that, we end on that whole thing. I guess if we wrap this up here, what was it? Let's see, was there anything else we didn't say speak on? Oh yeah,
From Cynthia.
Rafa and her, Reina and her situation. Um, a lot happened in there, and all we really did was just see her hometown,
And some
and
of the people she cared about, and she knows that she's kind of like banished now in a way.
it's really interesting that essentially her running away from her mission is what like banished her. It's kind of wondering too. I wonder if she could see her parents if they were around there.
If they're
Uh,
alive, yeah.
like if she's like banished like they were. But it's really interesting to how the whole culture, and also we have another instance of this show being daring. We've seen women couples, female couples, but we have not seen male couples. And also, I find this more interesting here is that very rarely when they do show male couples, they never kiss. It's interesting that
Hmm.
in this case they were kissing, and also the guy who was dead was apparently like the guy who's dead was I guess the husband or whatever in that situation. And I was like, oh, surprised, wow, he's dead now. That's disturbing. Um, we also find out that apparently before the Moonshadow Elves, or at least assassins, get sent out, they have a magical flower that they lay into this pool of water, and her flower was the only one that was standing, which is how they all knew that she survived. Um, After Rafa gets help from one of her friends on a fox or whatever, and they get sent out to go take the dragon to the mother, who, by the way, Jack already mentioned that was already slowly dying, because her husband was killed. Is like now they're sent off on their own thing, but as we're cutting away from that scene, we go into the pool, and we see that not all the flowers have fully sunken. There is actually a flower down there that is like at a midway point of floating. It's interesting that they showed that. So I'm actually kind of curious. Does that mean he's close to death, or whoever that person is? I think it's got to be her leader, because he's the only one that like that he was like put in jail. It's got to be him. I can't imagine it being anybody else.
Yeah, I could see that.
So we know somebody is close to death, which is kind of interesting. They never looked
I
into the
mean, I
water.
don't think it could possibly be anybody else, especially because like the star is at the bottom, but it's still glowing. Like I think it's kind of this indication of how he's trapped in that coin, like the others were. He's in a spot that's like more like limbo, probably than death. But it was a nice confirmation of them having some hope there. That there would be something, that they could do about it.
Yeah, I can't feel bad for Reina in that situation because she was so looking forward to coming home, and then all the people's faces were erased.
Yeah. It's nice that you got to talk to one person at least, that it came through. But it also, like, the fairy people are going to pay for this so badly because, like, that, like, that nation there, like the moon shadow elves, really like would have benefited from being able to have her come in with the dragon prince and like helping her get it to the queen so the queen doesn't die of grief, and they would have enjoyed the news of the dragon, the dragon prince being alive. And like it was sort of a big leap for them to assume such negativity and take such a harsh step. So
I don't know if
I
it's a
thought
big
that was
leave. I mean, I honestly, I can honestly see that this is the culture that they built up, considering um there are all the other nations of elves out there, but the Moon Shadow elves are
mm,
all the only one out there actively trying to kill people. So like if it seems like it's reasonable
what about
to
the sunfire elves?
they were actively trying to kill Maya, but it wasn't they were coming out of their own society to do it. Maya
They
was like
took their outposts.
that
They
was
took the
like
humans' outpost and were coming for the other one.
I thought it was a circus that they took one outpost. I mean I didn't think that was their ultimate goal to take outposts. But
It
like,
wasn't. Their ultimate goal was to take the other outpost too. That's why they had to blow up the walkway.
but what I'm trying to say is the Moonshot Elves like went over into the human nation. The Sunfire Elves didn't. As far as I can tell, they were like, as far as I can tell, like that entire area that they were fighting in was their home territory.
And then
That's,
there's the star cloak dude that like is definitely enabling Lord Viren to kill as many humans as possible and start wars and stuff like that.
I'm still
Like
confused about that
we haven't
because
seen a single type of elf yet that's not warlike with the humans. Let me put it that way.
I think the Sunfire Elves are more responsive than like the Moonshadow Elves, in my
The
opinion.
Sunfire Elves were like kind of frontline warriors, and the Moonshadow Elves are more like special ops.
I mean, yeah, I mean they said they can make they like when they forge iron, it stays hot, which is a very weird ability. I don't even know how that doesn't even that shouldn't even work. But
Magic. That's
regardless,
how magic.
that shouldn't work.
Okay, it's magic.
I know, but
It
that's not
shouldn't be
how
able to,
that's
you
not.
shouldn't have magical metal ornaments that float in the water until somebody dies either. Like it's just magic.
I'm just thinking about it in a realistic. I know it's not realistic, but I'm just thinking about it in a realistic thing. Like in my mind, it's like that's not how metal works. Metal doesn't when it cools off, it turns cold. It doesn't stay hot.
Metal doesn't float in the water until somebody dies either.
I don't think that was metal.
It was metal. It's silver. What do you think it is?
I have no idea. In some situations,
Okay.
like in some situations, silver is a pretty light metal.
You're so stubborn.
But I guess that's really it here is that they pretty much we as we jump around these episodes, essentially we have a culmination of three storylines that one that got cut off relatively early, and then we started delving into the other two a little bit more. I mean, we're probably going to see a lot more what happened to Maya in the next episode, I believe. Anyway, see what's going on. At least I think that's what we're going to do. We might be returning back to Reina and Callum. Well, it's interesting to see that at least it looks like we're finally getting into Azadia because we spent most of like if not actually all of season 1 and 2 in the human world in Earth realm.
Yeah, that's been really nice to see all the magical stuff and Rayla like kind of on her home turf, being still Rayla and like having her sense of humor in the world that they live in, sort of having a sense of humor too, with the petunias and stuff like that.
I was about to bring that up. I'm sorry. I couldn't take that world any more seriously at that point. They have
It was
little
great.
they have little flowers that they grow that fart in your face when you get near them.
It's awesome.
And I was like, are you serious right now? They got fart flowers. She got a petunias. What was the other nickname she gave?
That
Flatulent
was like
flatulilies.
flatulilies. Yeah, that was pretty solid.
I was like, are you kidding me right now? This world, this world. The worst part was too. These were flowers. Everything we saw was near the Moonshadow territory too. So like each like vegetation might represent what they're like.
Yeah.
So like it was so weird. I found it cool that one of the cool things about this episode 1 was that the village was hidden by a cloaking magic. So in order to reveal themselves, they had to perform some like dance, and then we just saw like slowly the world coming into view. Like this entire episode, these 3 episodes really did a good job with perspective, especially with Ezrin.
Yeah.
I like the perspective change whenever we were looking, whenever he was getting looked down on. We saw from his perspective like what the world looked like to him.
Yeah, but that dance also served two other really important purposes. One of them is you see Callum still continuing to like learn about magic and the world of magic and how it works, practicing magical spells. Like he mentioned straight up at least one or two times that like he's learning from Rayla about the world of magic and making little observations and connections about how the world of magic works as he's talking to her. And then also, of course, like the what is looking more and more like a budding romance between the two of them,
I don't
like
know
when
if
they're flying.
I don't know if I like that. I am I'm growing ever more against that. Um, cause I don't know how the anatomy works in this world. Like, I wouldn't care so much if we saw a hybrid kid at some point, and I'd be like, okay. So I mean, it's possible, for them to have a family. Um, but they're really hammering on that, like, that they're falling for each other, and it's kind of weird that this started happening after Ezrin left. Um,
No, it happened before too. It happened when he was they were losing him when he cast the magic and
but yeah, Ezrin wasn't there when all that was happening. Remember?
Yeah, but it also happened when they first met Eyes, and she couldn't bring herself to kill him. Like there was definitely some sort of connection there. I don't think it was just she didn't want to kill him. I think there might have been a little spark then, even back then.
I don't know. I'm not. I'm gonna sit there. I'm not against it, but I would need to know if that kind of relationship could exist in that world. Like, and this show has been doing a good job of being free form, being very progressive. So far we've seen, actually, we've only really seen like two um I guess that's homo sapien, but heterosexual relationships, and both of them have been really bad so far. The only good relationships we've actually had are been both homosexual in nature. So it's kind of
Yeah,
funny that it looks like they're doing that. I don't know if they're trying to put a message out there. I hope they're not. I sure hope they're not. Um, but so far, like, so far, heterosexual relationships have not been good. It just, like, apparently they've always resulted in something bad happening. Uh, and so far too, in the magic world too, that's the only place where we've seen those types of relationships. Like the actually, no, I take that back. The two queens are in the Earth realm. Then we saw the other relationship in Zadia. So it was kind of interesting that they showed that, and they're pushing that. So I suspect they're going to probably start seeing a whole heck of a lot more of them in the rest of this season, I would think. But yeah, I mean, I just don't know how I feel about that, because it's like she's an elf and he's a human. Granted, the only thing that's really different between those two is the fact that she has horns and she has pointy ears. So I guess anatomical wise, there shouldn't be that much of a difference, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about those two being together in that way, anyway.
I mean they're. It seems like fairly close anatomy.
I mean, like I said before,
Bug head.
the only difference that there's between them two is her horns and her pointy ears. Other than that, well, in her fangs, I think.
And missing a
Well, yeah, missing a pinky.
finger and different skin color and markings on her face and
Well, we're not gonna go into
yeah.
skin color. We're not gonna go into skin color because that's a touchy subject.
Okay, but there's no purple human beings. You know what I mean? Like there's
I'm just more like trying to figure out: are we is there gonna be a half human, half elf running around at some point in this world? Because I at least want to know if it's possible in this world. Because they could do the whole thing where it's not possible for a family like that to exist. Maybe if you were to be like this, you're probably gonna be able to have a kid.
mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm not saying that, and on top of that, I'm not saying there should be a reason why they don't get together, because like they can't have a family together. But I'm just sitting there saying I would like to know if it's a possibility.
I mean
So,
they could be in love with each other and just not have a family.
and I know that's what I'm saying. I mean, if it's I mean, I'm not saying that it has to be a requirement that they have to be able to have a family, or have a kid.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that, like, if it's at all possible, at least okay, show me that. Um, I'd probably have to grow more with
Like
those two.
Callum's like the first human being we know of that uses magic. Like Callum's like blazing trails right now. This could be one of the trails that's blazed, like a race of half elves that like bridge the gap between the
I'm
two.
sorry, but I swear about to end this here. When you said the start able the trails that get blazed, I was just thinking, like, you mean the trails that get banged? Oh,
Oh my gosh.
and with that, we'll end it off here.
Callum's gonna do a little bushwhacking, if you know what
Oh
I mean.
dear, good gracious. Yeah, just they taking on that half elf beaver. Moving on. See you guys later.